A bit of oil has been obviously spilt, or coolant, from the clash that we had earlier in the race. But nice to see that the drivers are okay, and we'll keep you posted on that later.
It's a fantastic entry that the Castle Combe Saloon Car Championship has. It's supported by National Mobile Windscreens, who have supported racing at Castle Combe for what feels like ever and a day. And the variety you have on this grid is amazing. You've got Volvos, Volkswagens, Ford Fiestas, new shape Minis, Peugeots, Audi TTs, Seat Ibizas, Volkswagen Golfs, BMW 1 Series, Astras, Seats, MG ZRs, Volkswagen Lupos, Corsas. I mean, it's a tremendous assortment of car, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this race, just seeing which one's the better setup and which one's going to be the quickest as well. So a real mixture for us to get involved with from the commentary point of view, and great for you guys at home to see, because you might have some of these cars parked in your driveway, you know, Volvos, Audi TTs, as you just said, Peugeots. You guys can relate to these cars, knowing that you drive them at home every day. You just saw the onboard camera then of the drivers weaving around, so soaring at the wheel, left, right, trying to generate as much heat as they can into those tyres. The Peugeot that we're on board with, the green car that you can just see there, is a front-wheel drive car, so the back wheels really are just passengers really. They're not actually getting any heat at the moment, so everyone in the front wheel drive car is going to be really struggling on rear end grip for the first few laps. So front tyres will be hot, rear tyres will be cold, so nice and leery for those drivers.
On Twitter, we've been asked to give a big shout to Carl Jones of Jones Photography. It was his big 30th last week. Wonder what that feels like. And in the meantime, we've got cars working their way around the circuit on this warming up lap, the intention of which is to generate a bit of temperature into the tyres. The road, of course, which had been drying out quite nicely, now slippery once again. We've got one car that's heading down the pit lane. It's not the one I was anticipating, that of Adam Preble. It is, in fact, Verity Banks, who would have been at the back of the grid with her MG ZR, but that's going to be a pit lane starter. As you see, Tony Hutchings and Will de Claudio working their way up towards Camp Corner, the turbocharged Audi TT. Jinking around to put a bit of warmth into the tyres there. Mark Wyatt on the second row of the grid. There's Will de Claudio. In these conditions, although that Peugeot is a Class B car, less powerful than the Audi, could yet be a race winner, couldn't it, in the damp?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with the damp conditions, it really does even out this type of championship where power really isn't that much of your friend, whereas you just want grip and consistency, really, and stability. So, yeah, we could see that Peugeot knocking the Audi off the top spot. But all of the drivers weaving around there, getting heat as much as they can into those tyres before they set off for the very brave first lap at Castle Combe, going into Avon Rise and then into Quarry, which we'll talk about a little bit later. That flag means slippery surface ahead. The red and yellow stripe flag, slippery surface. I think the drivers already know that, but the marshals have to tell us and keep us updated when we're on the grid.
Now another car to look for. You can just see the orange Peugeot there, the 206 forming up on the grid. Tony Dolly, one-time British touring car racer back in 1989. He had one of the front-wheel drive Toyota Corollas. And Tony has been a mainstay of this championship for many, many years. Always has orange cars. Tony's terrific tangerines, they've been dubbed over the years, because he used to have very small things like Corsas and Novas that went very rapidly. Now he's upgraded a bit in size to this Peugeot 206, and he again is going to be one to watch. There's now Adam Preble on the grid then, frustratingly, for the championship leader, so dramas for him, and Tony Hutchings on pole position is about to look towards the lighting gantry. Last couple of cars there, including Stephen Dowler, ready to form up at the back of the grid.
Turbocharged, I think it's 40%. Class B 1.4 is the norm, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
We're ready to go racing at Castle Combe. The circuit's Saloon Car Championship is ready for business. This race is over 15 minutes. The grid is almost complete. One or two gaps with cars either absent or indeed starting from the pit lane. So lots of variety, a slippy road, anything can happen. The race is about to get underway because the lights will go red, engine notes rise, and then when the lights go out, we are going to be in business now, and away they go. Some struggle off the line, like Mark Wyatt's Astra. Tony Hutchings makes a good getaway there as the cars power their way up towards Folly for the first time. Tony Hutchings in the lead, is he? Yes, he is. Will de Claudio slots in behind him in second place. Mark Fennell goes third, and it's Mark Wyatt fourth in the Astra. Lots of spray being kicked up once again, and this is going to make life very tricky as they head up for the first time towards Quarry, isn't it?
Yeah, the sun is out, so I don't think the circuit's going to take too long throughout this race. 15 minutes to start to dry out. Still a little bit of spray for the guys further back, but those top three there starting to pull away very, very slightly already. And as you can see them teetering around Quarry Corner, trying to get grip on those, remember what I said, rear tyres that are very cold. So going through the S's, very gingerly on the steering wheel there, getting close to the tyres on the left-hand side, getting the power down, slightly wheel spinning, and a slight off there for Kevin Bird in the BMW there. Kevin Bird's son is racing, called Charles Hyde Andrews Bird. I thought I had a mouthful of a name, but triple-barreled. He beats me to it, so fair play to them. So father-son out there later.
And Charles Hyde Andrews Bird is known as Chab for short, for understandable reasons. Right, you can see them all fighting for traction there, coming out of tower for the first time, including the aforementioned Charles Hyde Andrews Bird. And we've lost one of the MGs, look, parked by the side of the road. Horrible feeling, that might be Ann King's car. So coming up towards the end of lap number 1, Lloyd Allard goes through in the Golf there, powering their way down towards Camp Corner. Russell Akers, number 2, Astra. Up front then, Tony Hutchings in the Audi, and on lap 1 he has built quite an advantage. Yeah, quite an advantage, so it helps that you can actually see where you're going. He doesn't really need his wipers, and he really has built a very good lead, so very, very stable. Watching him go through Folly, which is the first corner, absolutely awesome. So the leaders have gone through with the advantage then at the end of that opening lap being 2 seconds. Mark Fennell in a big hurry as well now in the Mini, getting up there in that leading gaggle of cars. And Will de Claudio is fading, isn't he? Mark Wyatt's now got ahead of him in 3rd spot in the yellow Astra. So the Peugeot leading its class, but dropping back in the overall order. Will de Claudio hard at work. Oh, yeah, the engine note suddenly shoot up. Yeah, you can hear the engine note. There's a great deal of power in that Peugeot 106 there. So he's just struggling for grip, really. I think it's more suited to the dry conditions, this car, to get the power down onto the tarmac and manage to claw his way back up the field if it does start to dry out. But loads of power in that Peugeot. Teetering on the wheel, as you can see, visibility isn't great, and he's only the 3rd car back, so imagine what it's like further back for the other guys. Now, as long as he's leading his class, that's the main thing. Second in that class to him is Colton Williams, MG, further back in the queue. So for the moment, Will de Claudio is safe there in terms of class points. Cars working their way out of tower, including the Volvo S40 of Julian Ellison. Now there's Tony Dolly. I was talking about him before the race started. Tony at the moment not really making much progress here, is he? He's down in 12th place, the former touring car racer. And you've got Guy Parr going strongly as ever, number 13. Guy with his yellow Ford Fiesta. We'll see him out in the special GT race as well. Very busy man at this race meeting. Yeah, driving 2 separate classes and 2 very different cars. A Fiesta to a Nemesis. Rear-wheel drive Nemesis, this has got loads of brake horsepower, and the front-wheel drive Fiesta. Massive differences in cars, so yeah, we'll see Guy Parr a little bit later on. See the Audi there coming up over Avon Rise down into Quarry Corner. It's a very tricky corner, Quarry Corner, because you actually can't see the apex until you're actually in the corner, so it's a very late turn and very important to get a good run out of it, ready for the very fast chicane. Bit of a slide there from Lloyd Allard in the Golf. The battle for second is building up though now, because Mark Wyatt has got himself onto the back of Mark Fennell's Mini, and one of the many Seats that comes into Castle Combe Championships of Rob Ballard there, the Seat Leon, trying to keep Guy Parr at bay. Then you've got Julian Ellison's Volvo. Russell Akers' Astra, that was, taking to the dirt, wasn't it? He's going to lose ground, I think, as the field runs up towards the S's. Guy Parr gets through in the Fiesta, just. And all of that, I'm afraid, for Russell Akers means he's lost at least 2 places. May well be another one in the spot, because the Volvo, right up behind him, Julian Ellison, in the S40, looking for a way by as well. So, heading now through Hammerdown. Guy Parr in the yellow Fiesta, keeping at bay Russell Akers, who is determined to fight back. Look on the outside line there, but you've got to be so careful while the road is slippery like this. Yeah, there's very little runoff at Tower Corner, and as we just had that fresh shower of rain, the whole circuit's wet again, and they've got to start all over again. So, as we mentioned earlier, more grip on a wetter circuit than it was earlier on with that greasy circuit as it was starting to dry out. And a yellow flag was being waved there, I saw at Bobby's. Somebody's had a moment. Now, Tony Hutchings there leading the way, but I mentioned the second place battle getting closer. They've gone across the line with 0.8 of a second between them. There they are. Mark Fennell ahead of Mark Wyatt, and the yellow Astra now absolutely flying. Mark Wyatt is catching up onto the tail of the Mini, having a go. Is he up towards Quarry? Thinks about it, then slots back in behind. Gets much, much closer, locks up, just avoids thumping into the back of the Mini, scrabbles into the corner. Arrived too quickly, I think, and locked up. Yeah, arrived way too quickly, and you see the front wheels are actually turning, getting loads of understeer on the exit there. He's actually putting the power down, and it's just not going anywhere. So you can do whatever you want with the front wheels in that situation, and if the car tyres aren't gripping to the tarmac, they're not going to point you where you want to go. But yes, big mistake there, and then given the man a little bit more space. Somebody else in trouble there is James Keepin, who is on the grass in the MGZR. That's going up towards Quarry, gets back onto the circuit. James keeping out of trouble in a sense, because he's managed to avoid anything solid. Gets back into the race now, albeit a fair way back. He was in 14th at the start of the lap. This is the second place contest. Mark Wyatt getting closer all the time to Mark Fennell. A very unhappy golf there of Lloyd Allard that has got going again, the grandson of Sydney Allard. And Lloyd, who was a regular a few years ago in the Volkswagen Racing Cup, back into the race. But he's done some damage to the front of the car, and that is what happened to James Keeping. It's still very slippy out there, Charlie.
Yeah, but, if you're going to go off on the inside of Folly Corner, which is the first corner, because you know you're going to be safe to carry on for your fun driving on Bank Holiday Monday here at Castle Combe. But yes, very, very greasy, treacherous conditions for the drivers, but not for our race leader here in the Audi, who seems very, very dominant with lap times and track position.
So the car coming out of Quarry. Years ago, four-wheel drive cars were eligible for the championship. They've been outlawed now to go off into the special GT series, so it's all two-wheel drive these days. And for second place, Mini versus Astra. The pair of them have got themselves nose to tail pretty much. Mark Wyatt still trying very, very hard. But to be fair to Mark Fennell, having to defend on a slippery road like this, he's doing a very good job. He's not making any errors. No,
he's keeping it very, very tidy indeed. But that yellow Astra is really struggling there with front-end grip. Lots of movement on the steering wheel. You can actually see the wheels pretty much poking out from the bodywork, like there you see, turning fast, hard right for not really much of a major corner.
I just wonder if Mark Wyatt, were he to get past Mark Fennell, could do anything about the leader, Tony Hutchings, because last time he lapped quicker than the race leader. First to third, he's 4.3 seconds. If Mark Wyatt could get past, it might be a different story up the road for the race lead, but if they could work together in turn, they might be able to do something about catching up. They're in and amongst the back markers, though, now as well. They've got the slower cars to negotiate, including Eddie Benton, who's now into his late 60s, 68 years of age. Eddie Benton, another stalwart racer, former grass tracker, turned circuit racer, and has been racing in this series for many, many years. Right, Tony Hutchings, the leader, comes out of Camp Corner. There's Mark Wyatt in third place, still trying to work out how to get past the Mini, and now this might be his chance. He gets the power down. Is there a gap on the inside? Yes, there is, going up towards Folly, but can he get the Astra up the inside of the Mini? He's going to have a good go at this as they turn their way to the corner. Yes, he's gone by, so Mark Wyatt has done it up into second place, and straight away starts to gap the Mini behind him.
Yeah, but we've seen earlier he has been making quite a few mistakes. So if the Mini driver just keeps on going as he's doing and just keeps it consistent, let's look at the steering on this Astra there. Lots of steering, not so much then actually. But number 26 in the orange Mini, if he keeps it consistent, I think we're going to see a bit of a tussle between these.
Now, Mark Wyatt has got to try and make up now 3.9 seconds to the race leader. Is it doable in 6.5 minutes? I think it possibly is, if, as Charlie points out, he can stop making little mistakes. And that's Guy Parr getting himself in all sorts of dramas at Quarry. Wallop. Not a hard hit, but hard enough.
Yeah, I think he'll get away with that. He's just starting the car up. You can see him looking down at the control panel there, just getting the car started up again. So we've got a Seat on the inside of a Rover. Seat just passing up the inside there. So another little nice move further back down the field. So great racing from this massive mix of car manufacturers out there. I'm sure he'll continue with that. That's too much, not too much damage at all. But a shame, as we're going to see him later in the Nemesis in the other class.
Guy Parr back into the race. I think that's known as being below par, isn't it? Anyway, he's got going again after his moment into the tyres. And this is a replay.
Way too quick. Yeah, you can actually just see his speed in comparison to the other cars on the replay shot there. Just went in way too fast, a little bit too excitable, and both of his cars are number 13 as well, so lucky for some, or maybe unlucky for some.
On that evidence, yes, I think you're right about the second part of that. Tony Hutchings leading the way now. This gap is up to 4 seconds. Mark Wyatt chasing after him, but he's not really being able to do what he needs to do to get onto terms with the race leader. Last time around, the Audi lapped quicker. In terms of their best laps, though, the Audi still remains the quicker of the two cars, so Mark Wyatt still pushing on as best he can. Now, Tony Hutchings, of course, is about to encounter traffic, and this could be a very different story, couldn't it?
Yeah, as we said earlier, back markers can either be your friend or your foe, and the Audi has a very dominant lead at the moment, but Wyatt really is putting some very, very quick lap times in, only a 1/10 of a second off the Audi. So if this continues, we could start to see for the next 4 minutes a closing battle start.
It's Will de Claudio you're riding with, who is still leading his class from Carlton Williams. Russell Akers, who we've seen in the course of the race with the green Astra, is a class leader as well. And there's a very slow car there. That was Rodney Appley's Peugeot 106.
So on board here, you can see the Peugeot trying to get the power down there as we see the external shot back on the inside again. Just teetering around for grip, and this fast-flowing Castle Combe circuit. Coming down now, hammer down, and then braking for Tower Bend. Got slightly squeaky brakes, but that's not out of the ordinary for a race car. Turning in a couple of times, getting the back just coming out, so really is balancing the throttle. And as he puts the throttle down, you can just see the car wash out to the exit with how much power that car's got, as then he enters Bobby chicane, kissing those tyre barriers as close as you dare without damaging your car, and then powering out on the exit. So great onboard footage here, and gives you a really good driver's eye view here at this very slippery Castle Combe circuit.
So Will de Claudio, fourth, coming up to the end of the lap, leading his class. We were thinking maybe on a wet road he might be a potential winner outright. Well, forget that now. The pace just is not there, but a class win is what he's after, and the points for that.
You see there, our onboard camera there, shaking his head. He really isn't happy with how that car's handling, so not happy at all on our onboard car there. So be interesting to see if the next race can be sorted out with his setup there, but struggling for grip, definitely.
Yeah, the other question is what weather conditions we're going to have for the second round of races. It's been fairly changeable this afternoon. It's getting better again, as Tony Hutchings then works now lap number 8, and he's managed to build up the gap again, 4 seconds over Mark Wyatt. Traffic sometimes helps the leader, sometimes it helps the second place man, and Tony Hutchings then turning his way through the right-hander of Tower. There is Mark Wyatt, who really is pushing on as best he can, but hunting for grip. Good battle here. Russell Akers just ahead of Bob Ballard in the Seat, and the Astra hanging on to the place as they come through the S's. This is for 5th and 6th places. Russell Akers is a class leader, so although it's good that he's battling like this, and it's an exciting race for him, he doesn't want to get caught up in a squabble that takes him out of the race or costs him the chance of winning his class and gaining the points. So he wants to keep ahead of Bob Ballard if he can, but he could afford to let him go and still secure the points in his class. And that's Lloyd Allard's Golf that's come into the pit lane. We saw it going on the grass earlier. You can see the frontal damage, and that may now be a retirement for that car.
Yeah, you never know with front end damage like that. The temperature in the car could have risen as it's just popped off one of the pipes and keeps the car obviously overheating there. So he's just come in from a safety point of view.
And Russell Akers slithering out onto the dirt, powering his way now towards the completion of the lap. He's on his 8th lap at the moment, as Tony Hutchings there is on lap number 9. And it's looking good, isn't it, for the Audi here? Using all of the road up onto the curb and the grass creek on the outside of the road. Got lots and lots of back markers behind him, which includes, in and amongst them, Kelly Williams in the blue Ford Fiesta. The lady racer, member of the British Women's Racing Drivers Club. Tony Hutchings, though, there, working his way now through Old Paddock. And he's worked out where all the slippery parts are. He knows where all the grip is by now. And relatively speaking, it's been easy for him because he's not had to defend from anybody too stressfully since really the first lap of the race. So he can concentrate on his own race, his own lines, and this is the ideal situation to be in.
Yeah, it is. And it actually looks like he's been off because he's got no lower part of the front bumper, but I think that's pretty much designed to keep the car as cool as possible. You can see those blue and red pipes there of the cooling ducts on the front of that Audi, but a very dominant race, and he did put in a very quick lap time, 1:31.5, very early on lap 2. So and there's a bit of a late charge from the Mini as well, car number 26, who's 3rd at the moment, late charge on lap times.
So Tony Hutchings makes his way down towards Camp Corner, and the man with the checkered flag is ready for him. So as he comes through now, it looks as though it's going to be a victory for Tony Hutchings. He was 3rd last time out. He's going to win in the damp conditions here. Comes across the line, the checkered flags are waved, and Tony Hutchings is the winner of the first Castle Combe Saloon Car Championship race of the day, with Mark Wyatt 2nd, never being able to bring that gap to less than 4 seconds. He comes through behind him. Mark Fidel finishing 3rd in the Mini. And Will de Claudio does take 4th, and of course will take the points for winning his class. So he's working his way through the traffic, and as he comes down towards Camp, I say he's going to take the points for winning his class. He's going to keep out of trouble for one more corner there, because right with him you can see, whoops, yes, as he gets up towards the line is David Challenger's Seat, drops it down a gear. What was all that about, he says, as he looks across?
Yeah, I think this guy's a very unhappy chap at the moment. He's pretty cross with himself or with the handling of his car, and the last thing you want is a little knock, literally metres away from the end of that race, without considering those conditions, and a bit of a wave there to his to the marshals and the fans. So nice bit of spirit there.
And he stays ahead of Carlton Williams and King for 2nd and 3rd in the class. The man that was 2nd in that class in the championship, Martin Chivers, ends up only 4th in class, so that's going to help Will de Claudio to increase his championship advantage. Tony Hutchings is now very much into the picture, banging his fist on the roof of the car, so sort of in a rather aggressive way, celebrating with the car, congratulating it for doing him sterling service. Mark Wyatt there as close now as he's ever been, really, on the slowing down lap, having battled his way up into second place, but I think he just lost too much time early on. Yeah,
he made a couple of mistakes there when he was battling with the orange Mini of Funnel, and then just let the 33 car, the Audi race winner Hutchins, just pull away.
So Tony Hutchins takes the race win, and Mark Wyatt comes home second. Audi ahead of Vauxhall. Third is Mark Fennell's Mini. Wilder Claudio is fourth and a class winner in his Peugeot. Bob Ballard fifth in the Seat, and Russell Akers, another class winner, comes home to round out the top six at the end of the first of two Castle Combe Saloon Car Championship races here this afternoon.